Hello and welcome. Our purpose in this presentation is to show broadcasters how they can utilize the different tools and workflows provided by VizRT so they can overcome the obstacles and challenges they face in their daily workflow. So one of the most common challenges that you might face as a broadcaster is the limited physical space. So as a broadcaster, you might be having a setup similar to this. You might be having a video wall and a platform and a surrounding environment that you don't want really to share or to view with your viewers. So what can we do to handle this? Well, one way to fix this is to mask out the video wall and the platform and then replace the whole surrounding environment with our own virtual environment. So if you look at this environment that we have in here, we have this physical floor that we can replace with our own virtual floor. So let's get our virtual floor, and now we have this floor. And then let's say that we would like to add a couple of pillars. And then from here we could add the wings, and then also we could add the ceiling and then add the walls. And now we have one last step, which is this portal that we will be utilizing later for our weather presentation. But for now, let's close this one. And now we have this massive studio that we can utilize to place our AR graphics into. Now this scene was built by Astute Media using Cinema 4D. Now why did they choose Cinema 4D? Well, it's because of this dynamic integration feature that we have with Cinema 4D, which allows us to create the models right inside of Cinema 4D and then get instant result inside of Artist without the need to import the models again. So now we have this space, we can actually go ahead with our next challenge, which is the lack of detail. Now, what do I mean by lack of detail? Well, if you look at this SUV model that we have in here, well, this is a car, it's a model for an SUV, and it just doesn't look right. We are missing a lot of different things that makes it look right. And one of the most important factors that we are missing in here is the shading. Shading is a major part of photorealism. So what can we do to fix this car? How can we make it look a bit better? Well, one way to fix this is to actually utilize the Substance technology. Now, what is Substance? Well, a Substance technology is a technology that allows us to have real-time physical-based reflections right inside of this artist. So if we take this material and apply it on the front part of the car. So if you look at the front part of the car now, we have this nice reflections and light distribution, and you could see that compared to the rear part where there is not much happening. So what if I take the same material and apply it on the rear part as well? And now what we have is a proper reflections, and we have this good looking model. Now we could use the same technology to apply it on the glass material as well. And now we have a proper glass material. So you can see how we did manage to convert this flat shaded model to this nice looking model. Now we could do one more thing, which is to basically add a simple animation. So let's add our animation in here. And now we have our SUV, and you can see the nice soft shadows that we have beneath the car. And now we are happy with the car, and it's time to our Ferrari SUV is to hit the road. So another challenge that you might face as a broadcaster is the visual storytelling. Now, when it comes to visual storytelling, there is a lot of different ways to present your story, but one of the most common ways is to actually utilize the geographical maps. Now, there is a lot of different solutions out there that can provide maps, but the main limitations about these solutions is that they end up giving you a pre-rendered clip or image. Now, does that really work in a news environment? Well, in a news environment, if you need to have a map, then you need to have a designer who can create the map, design it, and then render it, which is a time-consuming process. Now, if you need that time, that doesn't really work, because the news environment is all about rapid and last-minute changes. And for that, we need to have a solution that can actually create maps on the fly. And this is exactly where our VizWorld solution come into play. So let's have our map in here, our VizWorld map. And now what we have is a proper geolocated map. This is not an image, right? So let's say that we would like to have this map in here, and let's say that we would like to change it later. That can be done really easy using the VizWorld solution that we have. So if we go to the interface for our VizWorld solution, this is the interface where the journalist can change the location. And let's say that instead of Dubai, we would like to navigate to Central Europe, for example. It is simple. We could either type the name of the countries, or we can just navigate to these countries and then select the countries. And in this case, let's say that we would like to select maybe Spain and Austria, for example. And now we have these countries selected. They are saved in the memory, and now we just need to take them. And now we have a brand new map. And you can see how easy was that. Just a few clicks and we're done. Now, what we have right now is a templatized map, meaning the designer has actually created this template map in terms of color and style. But let's say that we would like to have maybe a satellite imagery kind of map. Well, this is also possible due to the Google integration feature that we have with VizWorld. So let's go on with our Google map. And now what we have is this Google Maps. Now, this is not an image. Again, this is actually a proper Google tile map that was fit to our server through Google Map API. Now what we have in here is this flat map, but we can actually enhance this map by adding some elevation in here. So let's add some elevation, and what we have in here is a proper elevation data. This is not a 3D model that was brought from a 3D application. This is actually a proper digital elevation model data that can be actually read through VisArtist. Now from here, a lot of different things can be added. Let's say that we would like to present a military scenario, for example. That can be done through just adding by a couple of models, and now we have these soldiers, these tanks, and from here we can go ahead with our own story. Now these models were bought through Cinema 4D integration again, and you can see how different elements can make this presentation to look good. We have the camera movements, we have the models, the elevation, the map, a lot of different things make this presentation interesting. So now what we have discussed is how to templatize a map, but we can pretty much templatize any type of graphic that we have in our environment. So, and for that, let's have this, let's say that we have a news show, for example. Now, in a proper news show, you could present your stories as maybe a part of your video wall show, or you can maybe present these headlines on your on-screen graphics. But you can still utilize the AR space to do that. And what we have right now is 3 stories, right? We have story from London and Dubai, and we have some other story as well. Now let's say that we would like to change the content. Well, that can be done really easily by just going to the VisPilot system. And now what we have is this interface for VisPilot where the journalist can actually just come in here and change the content. So instead of just having an image, maybe let's say that we would like to have a live input, or we could maybe swap the live input with maybe a clip. So we change the content as we like, and we save the template, and we can just take it, and now we have a brand new show that we can present to our viewers. So what we have discussed so far is the tools that we provide for the journalists, but we can actually provide some other tools for the designers so they can actually enhance the quality of their visual storytelling. And for that, let's have a look at one of our newest plugins that we've introduced in VisArtist, which is the Vertex and Bone plugin. And for that, let's have our green arrow character in here. Now, you might be looking at this character and say, well, you know, this is an interesting animation, but how can I utilize this in a news environment? Well, let me explain the background behind of this technology, and then we will see how we can implement it into our news environment. What we have right now is this animation that was actually recorded through a specialized motion capture system. So this is not a typical keyframed animation. So we've recorded that animation, and then that animation was binded to the character through VisArtist, which gives us the possibility to record and to have real-time animations inside of Artist. Also, it gives the ability to the designer to actually create these animations inside of Artist without the need to an external 3D application. Now you can see the bones in here. And what we have right now is the bones that actually makes this model. Now, what we have right now is this character, but let's say that we would like to see a proper application for that. Well, do you remember the soldiers that we have in our map? We can actually have them right in here. We can actually have them moving. So let's get our soldiers in here. And what we have right now is 3 soldiers moving into our studio. Now these soldiers could be anything. This could be soldiers, could be maybe candidate for elections, politicians, a lot of different possibilities. And you can see the soft shadows that we have as well, which is one of the interesting features that we have in VisArtist. Now, VisArtist comes with a lot of different plugins that can be actually utilized to create an interesting presentations. And for that, let's have a look at this presentation here. And what we have in here is this nice waterfall that was created through one of our interesting plugins, which is the RFX plugin. Now, RFX plugin is a plugin that allows us to create these kind of particle effects. And the idea that we would like to do here, we would like to utilize this plugin to create an interesting social media presentation. So what we have right now is this waterfall, and let's say that we would like to project our social feed into this waterfall. So let's say that we have maybe a Twitter feed. So let's bring in our first feed in here, and we have used the image effect system, which is a lot of fun to work with. So you can see how different plugins are working together to create this interesting looking presentation. And now we have a Twitter account that we can take our data from, and then we can maybe bring in another data from Instagram, for example. Now you might be wondering, how did we manage to get this data? Well, it was done through the social media solution, which gives the journalist the ability to get the data from the social media, approve the different messages, and then push it on air. Now what we are visualizing in here is social media, but we can pretty much visualize any kind of data. Now what we have in here is this portal that we can use to visualize our weather graphics into it. So if you look at this portal in here, let's open the portal. And now what we have is this map that was created using VisWorld, and we have this point data for different cities. Now there is a lot of different ways how you can push weather data into your scene. What we have done in here is we've created our own custom app through Open Weather API, and then we get real-time results right inside of VisArtist. So you can see how the different tools and workflows and technologies can be used together to create these interesting kind of presentations. Now, eventually you can use this in your workflow as much as you like. And eventually, these kind of tools will give you the ability to unleash your storytelling. Thank you very much. Have a good day and see you at NAB. Bye.